Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour, our inaugural show. If you're just tuning in, we have in studio with us today Brittany Berman, who is on the board of directors for the Way Out Recovery and also part of the awesome and outstanding family that has been part of the dream that is now a reality. We are located in Santa Clarita. We're a brand new outpatient treatment center on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyon, and our phone number is 661-296-4444. Our website is thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. In studio also with us is our clinical director, Brenda Way, marriage family therapist. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Bob.
She introduced herself before our last break. And we also have Alex Urbino with us today. Now, Alex has a show on KHTS, which is...
It's called My Conscious Dad every Friday at noon.
Okay, so we want you to tune in and listen to Alex's show as well. But rather than me try to introduce all the great things that you've done, why don't you give us a little background on yourself?
I've been a transformational trainer and a transformational teen, parent, and family life coach for just over 23 years now. And I've been doing trainings for teens and parents and families all across the world, all across the country. But more importantly, I've been really focusing heavily on doing a couple trainings a year here in Santa Clarita, which is my greatest gift and one of my biggest rewards is to offer it here to our community.
Sure is nice to be able to provide services in a place that you live, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's a lot more personal that way,
man,
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, just knowing that it started probably about 5 years ago. My wife actually said, hey, it'd really be nice if you contribute some of your gifts to our community, because I'm always being called out to different, cities or states and doing my thing. So, yeah.
I love whenever I hear your introduction and I hear that word transformational. That is key, because a lot of us, we don't necessarily look at that. The process of change takes place so slowly for some people that they don't see that if you go to where I'm at now and where I was at the beginning of my process, what a transformation is in there.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's like becoming a whole new being.
Yeah, we're actually reinventing ourselves minute to minute, moment to moment, based on our choices and based on our actions. But it really starts with our shifting our mind and our perceptions and our beliefs. We start working on that on the front end, and then everything else follows suit.
A lot of the work that we do, so let's talk about teens for a minute, specifically teens. I know you use the terminology self-limiting beliefs, which is exactly in line with the treatment that we provide and the idea that you've been living or believing this about yourself your whole entire life. And I want to get in there as a practitioner and challenge the idea that the ideas that don't work for you.
Yeah.
And help you challenge those, right? So self-limiting beliefs with teens, what does that look like?
So let's take the average child is born into our world, and let's see them as beautiful, magnificent, pure, and they're all hard
because they are.
They're just love. That's just one big bundle of love.
I should say because we are.
That's right.
All of us still are.
And what happens is, as we grow up and have experiences, let's say we get caught writing crayon on the wall at 3 years old, and mom grabs our hand and says, no, give me that, and then taps our hand. Well, in that moment, our brain has to make up a story about what happened, and a lot of times our brain makes up stories about us. So your little mind can't comprehend why you're being scolded, and so you make up a belief like, I'm not a good kid, I'm
right?
bad.
Yeah.
So we have these limiting beliefs about ourselves that aren't necessarily true. It's a belief that was created at a certain moment in time, but we live as though they are true. And so some of the major limiting beliefs that teenagers have is that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not enough. And so coming from I'm not enough of something leaves an empty void inside of you. And this is where recovery comes in, is because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're a great candidate for substance abuse, trying to fill that empty void because you have these beliefs that you're not enough of something.
Sure.
Well, Brenda and I were having a conversation the other day. Here's the sort of the catch of, let's take marijuana use. Most marijuana use starts between the ages of 12 and 17. Most drug use starts between the ages of 12 and 17. And I have a 13-year-old who's got all of those beliefs tucked away inside of them. I'll never measure up. It's all going to fail. I'm a mistake. Why bother anyway?
Yep.
And I'm so locked up inside of myself that it's difficult for anybody who's got those beliefs to go out and have just a normal conversation. I sit back and I watch the rest of the world interacting in life and having all this fun, and I really want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But I can't.
It's dangerous.
Oh my God, I can't do it, right? And then I find this crowd that's standing over there in the corner, and they're doing the same thing as me. They're backing away from their life, right? And I meander over to that crowd, and they go, "Here, try this." Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I don't have to have social skills. I don't have to have any of that other stuff, because now I have a conversation piece and I have a place to fit. Whether that's good or bad, I still feel like I have a place to fit. That's the hook, right?
Well, but even going beyond that, once they go, "Here, try this," and you actually try it, right? In that moment, you go, "Oh, that's what it feels like to feel the way you guys feel," or "That's the way it feels to feel normal." Because the whole time you have this empty void, you don't feel normal. You feel like you're an outsider. You feel like no one understands you. You feel excluded. But as soon as you take that hit, right? But we all know that you can't fulfill yourself from external things. But when you're a kid, you can't wrap your mind around that. How are you going to argue with a kid when they go, "Yeah, but you don't know how this makes me feel"? So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with these kids that take that hit of whatever it is, and they feel amazing, and they don't realize that it's because it's coming from a substance.
To add to that a bit, along with that void, there is a dopamine depletion that happens in the brain, which is really important to be able to acknowledge. If I don't have the neurotransmission in my brain to say, doing this feels good, if my brain isn't wired that way, then the only thing that's going to make that strong connection is either something that I'm passionate about or some substance that's going to automatically, artificially create it. Yeah,
and you just brought a great point, is that something that I'm passionate about is internal, and the substance is external. Yeah. So we have to really and that's part of what you guys are doing, is teaching people how to, and I'm sure through the steps, is how to heal ourselves, and let's get back to the internal. Let's do that work so that we're not dependent on something that's external.
Well, the treatment that we provide that's a little bit different, I think, than maybe a lot of places are providing, is we really believe in, especially with the teens, let's find, other than drugs, what they are passionate about. I'll give you for instance. I have a 16-year-old kid who has been in and out of treatment several times that I've been working with recently. And during our whole interaction with him and his family, it was mentioned that he likes music. Right? And so I asked him about that. What do you like? Well, I like to play guitar, right? And I said, why don't you bring your instrument to the treatment facility and we will enhance that love.
So great.
And he smiled. Big old smile, right? And then when he walked in and saw the drums, because we do stuff with percussion as well, with through Health Rhythms that was created with Remo drums, and we'll have a whole nother show on that by itself because it's so big and wonderful. When he saw that, he just lit up. And now his parents are talking about, well, let's coordinate care. So here's another part of our treatment. We coordinate care with anybody who's going to enhance those types of things. His parents are talking about, what about that School of Rock that's over there? Mm-hmm. Let's go talk to those people. And they came and said, do you think that's a good idea? Because we have been taught, they've been through treatment. They've been to a lot of different treatment programs. And a lot of the treatment program modalities or mentalities with teenagers are take everything away. Right? Take everything away, make them earn it back. And it's not necessarily that there's something right or wrong about that. Like you said, there's a fit for everybody, right? But not for this kid.
Yeah.
Not for this kid. And so they were of that mindset, and they came to me, and I said, absolutely, you do that. And he and I talked about that, and he is just like, oh my God, I'll do anything to do that. Including giving up my drug use.
That's right.
Giving up my drug use. Yeah.
Connecting that to what Alex was talking about, if I already feel as a teenager that I have a void and I'm not worth it, take something away. I didn't deserve it anyway. It wasn't mine. And I'm going to be mad at you.
It just validated that one more time, all your limiting beliefs is true. What I love about what you said, for me, it paints a picture. You just lit a fire inside. You lit that passion up for that kid because you gave him an opportunity. a lot of times what I'm noticing is that professionals will really focus on dealing with the symptoms. In this scenario, you didn't focus on the symptoms, even though that might be part of the modality, but you realized that wasn't working. So you reinvented yourself and you said, let's go from the symptom, let's focus on him, and let's go back down a little, let's go underneath, let's go to the core and find out how to light his passion. Let's light a fire inside of him so that naturally he decides that there's something else more important that I want, and so I'm going to give up all the other stuff that is really kind of not really setting me up to win.
Yeah. Another thing, that Brendan and I we've talked about, and certainly we employ in our outpatient treatment with teenagers, might be a little bit controversial. I'll tell you why. We're having this conversation. So support in the recovery process is big. Anybody that I can engage in my support process is going to be a good thing. And most places, if a teenager comes in and they have a bunch of friends that they're like smoking pot with, right? The idea is, oh my God, keep them away from those people.
They're
Never let them
bad.
interact with them. Those are bad, bad, bad. And what happens oftentimes, not always, is that you take that kid and you put these harsh restrictions, and what they do is they sneak around behind your back and they engage with those kids anyway. Peer pressure and peer influence and peer engagement with whatever your group is huge. If you want to see some studies on that, anybody go and look at any studies on gang involvement. Like, you have an element that by all appearances seems to be, oh my God, it's all bad, right? But you ask that kid that's in the middle of that, and that is his family. That is his support group. That is who has his back, right? And so I'm certainly not saying that we encourage that or enhance that negative behavior, but what we do is this. As I said to this kid, I go, let's call your other two friends that you got caught with into our treatment center and let's talk to them. And I had this conversation with him. I say, your buddy here, your friend right here is facing these consequences right here. You guys care about him? Yes, we care about him very much. Why don't you help us to support him in the change that he needs to make so that he doesn't have to go to jail or not be able to graduate from school? And instead of distancing those people, let's encourage them to be part of the recovery process.
Yeah.
The schools and the law enforcement and the parents and the peers. Let's encourage all of them to be part of the recovery
What I
process.
like about what you're doing, and not just what you're doing, but who you're being, is that you're being outside of the box thinkers.
Yeah.
You guys are figuring out how to reinvent what's called support and treatment, and you're figuring out how to meet each individual person. So if you have 10 people and that one modality, one way only works with 2 of them out of the 10, you're figuring out, how do we get to the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th? And how do we reinvent ourselves to meet each individual person to give them the treatment that they need? Because we all don't respond with one way of treatment. We respond in different ways. And that's what I love about what you guys are up to.
I think the most important thing that any clinician of any kind can be is person-centered. Exactly what I was talking about earlier. What does this person actually need, and how can I help them get to that goal? What's the solution? As opposed to, what's the problem? What is the solution?
I love that.
Right, we've been looking at the problem for a long time.
Yeah.
They know what the problem is. Yeah, we've been hearing it over and over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the solution. In the world of treatment, in the professional world of treatment, every treatment center that you talk to is going to use the words personalized, individualized treatment planning. The difference between saying that and doing that there's a big gap between that.
Yeah, but and again, I want to point out the difference between being it and doing it is also is also being it. Because you can say it and then do it, but you guys are being that. It's in your being to figure out how to turn yourself inside out to find a solution for somebody. Yeah. That you can't teach. That is just something that's inside of you that you got to find, discover it, and fan that flame to become that kind of a person. And I think you guys have enough of you guys. That's what makes you guys such a strong little village.
How do you break through those self-limiting beliefs with the teens that you work with?
Self-limiting beliefs, for the way that I look at it as kind of challenging them. So for me, what I do is I speak into their greatness. So I'm kind of like a counteract. So as they're sitting there fighting for their smallness, I'm speaking into their greatness. I'm going, of course you are. Of course you're amazing. Of course you can handle that. The same way earlier before we came on the show, I gave you specific instructions. I said things to you in a certain way that kind of gave you permission to go, oh, okay, then I can relax, right? So I'm always speaking into people's greatness or reminding them they can, or reminding them that the situation isn't as bad as they can see it. For me, one of the greatest gifts I got was a mentor in my early 20s that learned how to speak into my greatness. Right. And for whatever reason, I always wanted to be around her. I would find ways to be around her just so I can hear her speak. It's like, say that to me again, please. Right. It was like I wanted to hear more about my greatness coming from her mouth. More importantly, I wanted to see myself the way she saw me. So that's how I do it. And I teach parents too. If you speak into your kids' greatness at a certain point, guess what? They start to believe it. Right. And then what happens is those other limiting beliefs start to fade out into the background until they're gone. Yeah,
because that's the truth. I mean, cognitive behavioral therapy, right? It's a modality of treatment. Takes the same idea and says, okay, let's challenge all those old ideas that you've had.
Yeah.
Let's just say that you've been lying to yourself your whole life, right? What we do is we train ourselves to be able to hear that voice. When I go to do something, that fear that crops up and that voice that comes in that says, you'll never get away with this. You're not going to be able to do it. It's not going to work out, right? That little voice in the back of my head, whether that's from myself or from maybe a parent who's told me that, as whatever, wherever.
We'll just call it the past, because it's all coming from the past.
All coming from the past.
So the past is speaking in my ear.
It's haunting us.
And it's loud.
Yeah.
What I need to do is I need to learn how to say, I hear what you're saying, but you're a liar, and I'm not going to listen to you anymore.
Yeah.
Here's the new truth.
That's right.
Or maybe here is the truth.
Yeah.
And the truth is exactly what you said. Beautiful human
I want
beings.
to break in here for
Please.
just a moment, if I may, because what we're talking about, being person-centered, limiting beliefs, breaking through those, and I think it's been already said, the idea that no two people are going to approach things the same way, no two people are going to hear things the same way, and so to be able to have different approaches. Bob and I might not approach a person the same way. Alex, you and I might not approach a person the same way. But there's other kids on the block, and there are other treatment centers on the block. And if it's not going to be here, hopefully we can plant a seed so that it can be somewhere else. The idea of limiting beliefs, I'm putting this out on the table because it comes up. I am totally blind. I have been totally blind for 20 years, and I know for a lot of people, they don't know how to approach it. They don't know how to deal with it. They've been taught they're not supposed to ask questions because that's rude. And for me, it was self-limiting when I first became blind. And to be able to say, no, this is not going to stop me. I'm still going to do X, Y, and Z, even though everybody else thinks that I cannot. That little bit of rebellion that I have that said, yeah, watch this, which actually turned out in my benefit later on. But
well, it's turned out in the client's benefit too. I probably told you this before, but I have had so many people come back that I've referred to you that said, oh my God, I feel so much safer.
Yeah.
And so much more comfortable because of that.
I have no ability to judge a person on sight, and some people naturally gravitate towards that for that very reason.
So when you say, how do we combat this? So other than speaking to their greatness, the next tool is what's called affirmations. And she just gave her own affirmation out. I don't know if you guys heard it. She said, I'm not going to let this stop me. That's an affirmation you say to yourself. And so the way you contradict self-limiting beliefs is to create these powerful affirmations that you always repeat to yourself daily, hourly, moment to moment. You're constantly saying them over and over. What happens is, again, you get to a point where you start to believe that nothing's going to stop you.
It becomes automatic.
You become the person that you speak about.
True.
And you're actually self-coaching yourself. And if you don't have somebody, or you don't have learned that ability, or don't believe in yourself yet, we're going to go back to the very beginning of the show. Ask for help.
That's right.
That's step one. If you're stuck, ask for help. That's the people that ask for help are the ones that actually get that lift and they go to the next level in life. That's just the way it is. So if you're listening to this and if you've heard that 1,000 times, hopefully 1,001 times saying ask for help, you have to ask for help to get yourself to the next level. That's how we all operate in life.
And we never know, internally or externally, for a person who probably needs some change, whether it's with drugs and alcohol or something else, we never know when we're going to be at that moment that it's painful enough for me to be willing to ask for that help.
That's right.
So it might be the 1,001th.
That's
time,
right. Now let's talk about teens that are struggling. They don't know how to ask for help. They're not wise enough. They're not conscious enough. They're not evolved enough to do that. So they're relying on their parents to be present and noticing some of the red flags and interpreting those red flags as an act for saying, hey, I need help. Right. So that's the wake-up call. Really, I came here today is to let the parents know that your kids are speaking to you not directly, but they're doing it indirectly based on some of the actions and some of the things that they're doing and the way they're showing up in your life.
Sometimes directly, and we as parents we're
that's
like,
right.
hang on, I'm busy.
That's right. Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm over here. Yeah. I need some help.
But the sad part about it is that at a certain point, they're going to give up.
Right.
And that's heartbreaking, is that your kid has been asking you, whether it's indirectly or even directly, at a certain point, the human spirit breaks down to the point where they lose hope.
Right.
And they're not going to ask for help anymore. Now they're just going to give themselves permission to validate that one more time, the limiting belief, you don't care. So if you don't care, then guess what? I don't care. And then now they're full tilt. They're going into whatever destruction path that they're on. They're going to go full tilt because they've already decided that no one cares, so why bother?
I can't work within the system,
That's
so
right.
I'm not going to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm just going to exclude myself and I'm going to burn the candle at both ends.
So the greatest number in terms of age group, I think, that comes into treatment and recovery today is early adulthood. Let's talk a little bit about adult limiting beliefs, and especially in that period, I'm going to say between 18 and maybe 30. You know, that part of our life where let's try to for a minute look at what healthy might look like. A healthy person from the age of 18 is either in college or they're exploring college or they're about to launch into life. They're talking about maybe moving out of their parents' house. They got a plan for life.
Probably have a job.
They probably have a job. They're doing all this, right? That's what most of the world looks like. And then you have sort of a lost group who doesn't really know what they want to do. They don't know where they're going. They don't have necessarily resources. They've been way off track from drugs and alcohol. And that population right there is sort of in a spot. That's what that looks like to be the biggest population currently in treatment centers, 18 to 30, especially because of the opiate use and because of the prescription medications and everything. So as I go into adulthood, what's a different sort of self-limiting belief or self-talk that I'm giving myself now as I transition into adulthood? What does that look like?
For me, from my findings and from my experience, I don't see the difference between a teenager and a young adult.
They're just physically getting older.
They're a seasoned veteran
it.
at having limiting beliefs that they validated so many times that are true that they just believe it more. They're just really entrenched with this is just the way it is, and they're really fixed and they're positioned. Now let's take a 45 or 50-year-old adult that has been doing it for another 30 years,
or 50 or 60, right?
Yeah. And they're really positioned about, no, this is the way it is, and it's really challenging to chip away at that. So
the shell is thicker.
It is, right? and they're really they've put a lot of effort into believing that these limiting beliefs are true, and so they're not going to give them up right away. It's going to take some hard work and some challenge.
Oh, and you talked about what healthy would look like, but what healthy looks like isn't always healthy, because you're talking about these limited beliefs, but I know for me personally, for a long time, that looked like absolute perfectionism. I will get perfect grades. I will still work 40 hours a week. I will be the mother. I will be everything that I'm supposed to be for everybody. It's exhausting, and it's just as unhealthy as the person sitting in prison who's just waiting to get out for the next fix. It can be just as destructive.
Yeah, when you say healthy, what I visualize is self-acceptance.
Yes.
Spiritually healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, I visualize self-acceptance,
Right.
and I think that you've embodied that, and I've learned that from you, is when you say you're transparent, you really are transparent. You basically said, I've done this, I do this, and it's like outing yourself. One of the greatest things I tell my clients is, when you're sitting in front of me, the greatest gift you can give yourself is to out yourself in front of me. And they go, what? And I go, yeah, tell on yourself. Because what you're doing is, when you're doing that, now you're hearing yourself say it, so it's harder for you to go back into the life and keep doing it when you're constantly outing yourself.
It gives everybody a chance to breathe too.
That's
it's
right.
like an icebreaker. Everyone's like, oh my God, finally we're talking about that thing.
Yeah. And you do it too. And if you do it, then I do it. And all of a sudden now we're all
the only
healing
one.
ourselves, because we're learning how to accept our dysfunctions all together. That's what's so amazing, especially in a support group.
I made a choice a long time ago when I really started to look at what I think is the greatest problem globally when it comes to addictions of any sort, is the stigma behind them. Nobody. It's funny, we're at the Home and Garden Show, right? And we're sitting over there, and we have a booth that says, treatment for drug addiction or whatever, right? And it's cool, but most people that walk by, they look over at the sign and they go, ooh, I don't want to talk about that right now. Like, I'm out here having a good time. I'm shopping for my home. I'm looking at artificial grass. I'm all, whatever, right? And I don't want to, like, they just keep on going. Nobody really wants to do that. And that's the stigma, because there's a big shame that goes behind it. So what I was doing over there is we were giving away a prize. And I said, come win this prize, and all you have to do is sign up and have a 5-minute conversation about something nobody wants to talk about. And people were coming over and talking
Ding,
about
ding,
it. But I made a choice personally a long time ago to say that I'm going to talk openly about not only about my addiction, but about my past, about the mistakes that I've made and my parents have made, about trauma, about abuse, about all of this stuff that people go, ooh, we don't really want to look at that. I've made a choice to talk about it from my own personal perspective now that I'm on the other side of it, because I can look at you straight in the face and openly with not an overwhelming amount of emotion attached to it, just sort of say, here's what happened.
So do you see that as a challenge, that a lot of people won't want to address something or look at something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's say that's your challenge, right?
Right.
For me as a life coach, my challenge is at a lower scale than yours. Because at least you have people, when they are up against it and they are in dire needs, they're picking up the phone call and they're calling you.
Right.
I'm more preventative work. People don't get excited about doing preventative work because there's no problem. There's
Right.
there's no crisis. So this all goes back to looking at someone else's problem and you go, well, I got a worse problem, so it makes yours feel better. You have a challenge, but at least you have people that will pick up the phone because they've hit rock bottom. For me, I'm after a target market where I'm trying to get people to go, let's work on ourselves before we get to that point. I got these powerful 2-day life-altering, amazing teen trainings that literally wakes kids up, lights a fire in them. And I got kids emailing me, they're 25, 30 years old, saying, thank you for changing my life. Thank you for taking a stand for me. But the common parent will see an ad that I have and they'll go, oh, that's not
Good for those people.
That's not for my kid.
Yeah.
Or they make an assumption that I only work with at-risk kids, rather than no, all kids are at risk. All kids have dysfunctions, limiting beliefs, fears, doubts, and insecurities that will at some point creep up and taint and alter their perception so that they can't reach their full potential. And so I just wanted to share that with you, that I would love to have your challenge.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can always look and go, hey, I'd love to have that challenge.
Yeah,
and be
we
there.
we can see that there's a problem.
That's
here,
right. That's right.
Yeah, it's nice. I think everybody should be having those conversations, whether they think they have a problem or not. That the talk about drugs, alcohol, teen dating, suicidality, depressions, anxieties, mental health issues, all of those sort of issues that we go, that people who don't think they have that problem don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it should be the conversation that everybody's having, because whether you want to believe that it's a problem, it's not only a problem, it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
It's happening all around you.
It is.
And the big part of the problem is not being able to talk about it or not wanting to talk about it. So we get families together, right? Doesn't matter if we're working with teens or if we're working with adults, we get families together. These are huge, huge topics, and we run out of time quick, don't we? So we have a minute left, and something that you would like to say to any families that are out there, Alex, and then Brenda.
I would just like to say that, your kids are looking up to you for wisdom and support, and to be this open, loving space for them to figure out who they are. and that they don't need you right now, especially today's kids, to try to either fix them or control them. What they're demanding, was today's kids demanding, is for you to reinvent yourself as a parent and shift from the controlling style parent into more of a coaching mentor style, where you're more relaxed and you're more faithful and you have more trust, and you're creating a safe space for these kids to figure out who they are. That's what your kids are looking for in today's world.
Brenda?
If I had one thing to say, it would be whatever your assumptions are, whatever you think about you or us or treatment or your addiction or whatever the issue or non-issue might be, come talk to us anyway. Give us an opportunity. Maybe we can help to clear up some misperceptions.
Thank you. Brittany? Anything you want to say to the families out there listening?
We are here to help you, and come to the Way Out Recovery.
Perfect.
Thank you
Nice.
guys for being on the show today. This has been an outstanding show. What a great inaugural show.
Right?
I'm so excited
That's
about
great.
being able to sit in the middle of Santa Clarita on KHTS AM 1220 and put this out every week and get the buzz going.
Nice.
Get people talking about it. We are passionate about what we do. If you have been listening to the show, or you're just tuning in, or you're going to listen to this later on a podcast, the point of us being here is for you to hear the message and ask for help. That is the point, whether it's for you or somebody else. Don't be afraid. We will do interventions for you.
Yeah.
We will provide treatment for you. We will help you in the recovery process. There's nobody that we won't talk to, and there's no issue that's too big that if we can't handle it, we'll get you the resources that you can handle. We are the Way Out Recovery. We are at 661-296-4444. We are at the Way Out Recovery SCV.com. And I'm Bob Sharits, your host on the Way Out Recovery Hour. We will be here every week, Monday at noon. Thanks for tuning in.